Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Amber and today I'm going to be sharing with you my wrap up of all the books and films that I watched and talk about what I will be reading in the coming week. So as you can tell, I am going back to wrap ups just because I have no way, it just didn't feel cohesive and put together when I was doing those vloggy type videos, and because of that it just wasn't working for me and I felt less satisfied than when I do my wrap-ups. So until I can actually do like a proper vlog where I can put all the clips together and such and put it and give it all to you in one video, this is what I will be doing, and that's fine. It is what it is. So I'm just gonna jump in with the books that I have read from the past 2 weeks, since I didn't really do a weekly wrap-up. I feel of those books that I had talked about in those little vlog style videos. So I will talk about so I'm not going to talk about them in order of when they were read. I'm just going to talk about them the way I want to. So what I will do is share with you the 2 books that I finished that were rereads. So the first one is I finished Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. I was reading the third and last part, The Return of the King, and I didn't read like the last 2 to 3 chapters just because they were all about what happened after, and I just wasn't in the mood to reread those bits. And since it is a reread, I don't feel like it counts against me in saying that, well, you didn't finish it. I did. I know what happens in those parts. I remember, and I just wasn't in the mood for it because towards the middle of January, I don't know if I mentioned this in any of my wrap-ups, but I had jury duty and it was really stressful, and I wasn't even sure I was gonna finish Lord of the Rings. But once it was finished, I was kind of like drained energy-wise. So it's just really surprising that I finished this at all, because I just wasn't reading in the full capacity that I was from the first week. So I was just trying to get back to where I was for the most part. So I am proud of myself for actually finishing this reread, because if you do not know, this book is very long-winded. He likes to meander all over the place, and sometimes to the detriment of the plot, I feel. I really do enjoy this, and I definitely think that Tolkien loves world building, and he focuses a lot on that, to the point where I feel like he sacrifices the actual plot. And where I stopped was just all these other after bits that could have probably been dealt with inside of the actual plot that happened, or could have been done in like an epilogue fashion and done it in a quick snap fashion. But no, he had to keep on going with the meandering plotline, even though Return of the King is probably like the best of all 3 parts of the book, just because it has a little bit more of a faster and snappier pace to it. So yeah. Also, I am thinking of getting them in the 3 separate books that the editors forced him to put them in, not because I don't want to Hey! Noodle, stop! Golly. Not because I want to respect the author, because he wanted it to be one book, but the editors forced him into splitting them. But this edition is getting really badly beaten up, and I just started look at that. Oh, I didn't even know that. Oh my god. Okay, so that is why I'm thinking of getting them in 3 books when I can, because if I had known that, I would have bought that instead of the books I had just recently bought. Shoot. Anyways, just so that I won't damage the books as much as I just did with that one. Whoa, holy moly. And then the last reread that I finished in the past 2 weeks is Goblet of Fire, the 4th book in the Harry Potter series. I had started to read it in this edition, and then I just went ahead and started listening to it slowly, and I just looked at the illustrations. I'm going to go on a little rant here because nobody else has really talked about this. I'm just going to say that these are a waste of your money. If you're going to spend, what is the full price of these books? $47.99. Whoa, I actually got that right. It's $47.99, $47.99, which is basically $50 with taxes and everything. You should have plenty of illustrations like this from maybe this point onwards, like from the beginning to like maybe like this point. I'm guessing because it wasn't very long, very far. Okay, let me just say it was up to when they are heading back to Hogwarts. It has a pretty good amount of illustrations. I liked that they had like half-page illustrations. Hi, Boo Boo. You want to be up here? Mwah. Okay. And I was really, ow, she's pulling my hair. And everything that, you know, I understand that you can't have as many illustrations as you can because this is a bigger book, but this is as thick as the third book. So, and I was really surprised because I thought we would get at least a third more thicker from that one. And then I realized that we don't even get illustrations for the rest of the book. There's like little these like that kind of design, but that is it. No actual illustrations or anything for over half the book. What a waste of my fucking money, okay? I didn't pay as much because I got it at Costco, which is, I'm grateful for that, but $27 for a book that sold me on this idea, and probably everybody else who bought this for the most part paid full price for it. I'm angry about it because people who are buying these books are buying them for the illustrations. They want this book because they love Harry Potter and they were looking forward to seeing the illustrations that Jen K drew, and instead we get ripped off. So I will not be buying any more of these editions, and I definitely do not want to be supporting the author that much anymore. So I just felt like I needed to rant on that because it just really frustrates me that they're expecting us to pay that much money for something that, for something that we're not even getting. Like, we're not getting what we're being paid, what we're paying for. So yeah, this edition gets like 0 stars. That's how mad I'm about it. I'm mad about it. Noodle, what do you want? You have to settle, okay? You have to settle. I'm trying to make this video. Say hi. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. Oh, yes, I love you too. Okay, so the next book that I want to talk about is The Library Book by Susan Orlean. This is nonfiction about the 1986 fire that occurred at the Los Angeles Public Library, the Central Library. I listened. Wait, you want to go in there? Okay. I listened to most of this book while I was working in one day, so it just shows you because this book is not that long. So I listened to like almost half of that book. So I did read some of it physically, but I listened to the rest of it. What is she doing? She's so cute. So the thing about this book was that I was really enjoying it when I was in the middle of listening to it and reading it and all that. I count listening and reading, by the way, so we're just gonna say reading. So in the middle of reading this, I was enjoying it, and then at the end, I had a hard time placing what it was that was off about the book. I kind of knew because I knew that I kept saying like it just lacked focus, and I'm like, but how did it lose focus? Like, what am I trying to like get at with that? And so I read a lot of reviews to try to like see if anybody has similar feelings, and I found several people who did, and they definitely gave me a clear idea of what I was trying to like piece together. And it's because she had too many threads going on. She talked about the history of the library, the specific library. She talked about how libraries work. She talked about the importance of libraries and her love for libraries. And she barely talks about the actual investigation of the library, which is what the synopsis sells you on, is the whole idea that she's going to be talking about the fire and the investigation that happened afterwards. And instead of that, we get a lot of loose threads that don't really tie together to like fit the main theme of what this book was supposed to be about. And so that normally would have like lowered my rating, but I absolutely loved how she was able to express the love of the library and the importance of that library. But I will say that one of the main disappointments I have with this book is that she didn't talk about how the fire affected the community. The fire meant that the library was shut down for a pretty good amount of time, and she does not talk about how it affected the community. She goes on and on and on about how the library is such a huge part of the community and the importance of the libraries, but she doesn't talk about the effect it had on them, which again, it just goes to show that she had so many threads, but she did not connect those threads to the main theme of the book. And so therefore, I should be giving this 2 stars, but I gave it 4 stars just because I loved those parts where she was just talking about the love of libraries and books and all of that. And I will say that I probably will end up changing my rating to 3 stars just to balance out my love of those parts with the reality of how poorly she did with all the themes and such with this book. So that will be happening, I'm sure. But for now, I'm saying 4 stars. And then I do not have this next book. Hold on, I gotta work this. What are you doing? Oh, okay. I do not have this book because it was a library book, and also I returned it because I just wanted it out of my sight. It wasn't due, and I could have used it as to show you, but I just wanted it out of my sight. It was that bad, and I DNF'd it. So there you go. So that book that I'm talking about is Jericho's Fall by Stephen L. Carter. This is supposed to be an espionage spy thriller type book. So the protagonist of this book is Rebecca, or Beck as she likes to call herself. Sorry. And in present day, she is being called back to her, I'm not going to say present day, just say that she has been summoned to the deathbed of her former lover that 15 years ago she was involved in. At that time when they were together, he was supposed to be her professor, and there was a lot of controversy around the fact that they were together when people found out about it. And now, 15 years after that, going back to see him again on his deathbed. By the way, he's also the former CIA director. And she ends up getting caught in the middle of his webs because everybody is trying to get the secrets that he supposedly has, and has threatened that he's going to have his lawyers or somebody to send out to the public, and nobody wants those secrets out in the open, so they are trying to get those secrets from him. And yeah, seems interesting when you see that when you read the synopsis, but the book is a lot of nothing. Nothing happens. I read like over 100 pages, and I was trying to not DNF this book because I DNF'd like 4 books this month. I don't feel guilty about DNFing books, but I feel like, wow, that's a lot of books I just DNF'd in 1 month, and I kind of wanted to try not to DNF another book, but I was not liking it, and I felt very frustrated with the fact that nothing happens in those 100 pages that I had already read. And then I skimmed through to the end, and I saw that everything that could possibly have made this book any good happened in the last chapter, if that. And the ending was very abrupt. It didn't even really feel like an ending. Like, that ending felt like it was in the middle of the book, and that something more should have been written after that. Didn't happen. I also felt like it was a lot of telling rather than showing. She tells you all of her memories about the past, and I'm just like, well, I'm not really interested in that. And she's kind of very obsessive about how she feels guilty that he went into hiding afterwards, and I feel like the author was trying to make a point that she should have feel guilty for it, which is not freaking true. Like, maybe he does make that change, like, the character like progresses and grows and realizes like, oh no, it's not really all my fault, and really not my fault at all. But I didn't see that, and I don't think I would see that happening, because he made it out in those pages that I did read. Like, she had some blame to have for what happened. She was 19 years old. She was basically a kid who was she never had a real relationship until then, and he knew it, and he manipulated her into that relationship, knowing that she was naive and vulnerable in that moment, and knowing that his flattery and the fact that he was somebody that she looked up to, like he can manipulate all of that into getting her into that relationship, and he went into isolation because of her. Well, that's a bunch of bullshit, because he was already having issues with the CIA and everything. Like, he was already getting crazy before that, and he went into isolation because of his own paranoia and such, not because of her. And she left college because of this. She had to drop out of college because of all the fallout from that affair. So she's the one that, had to deal with all the actual consequences of this. And I didn't like how the author was portraying it. It left a bad taste in my mouth that he kept making it out like she had some guilt in that. And I would like to think that maybe that changed, that there was some growth, but I didn't stick with the book to find out about that part, because it was boring AF. Boring, and again, boring. So I just couldn't be bothered with trying to still make all of that with a nothing story. So that's a good riddance story. Let's move on to, to this week's books. So, or rather, the last book that I read till now, and that is Force of Nature by Jane Harper. This is the second and last Aaron Falk book that so far has been out. I highly doubt that we're going to be seeing another one, but you never know. It possibly may happen. It's only been 2 years since this one came out. So in this one, we meet Aaron Falk again, but this case is about a group of men and women who were forced on this corporate retreat to go hiking in the Gurling Range Mountains area. It's in Australia, by the way. And the men and women are kind of they split up into the men go one way and the women go another way. It's supposed to be like a competition to see who can get to each of the flags first, which I think is ridiculous, but whatever. And the women end up getting lost, and when they're able to finally get back, one of the women named Alice is still missing, and Aaron Falk is involved because Alice was a whistleblower helping him on a case that he was working on, and the question is she missing because of her connection with this case, and where the hell is she, kind of a situation. I enjoyed this mystery. I enjoyed the writing and the story. Everything about this had the same kind of quality that made me enjoy the first one. I was really disappointed that we didn't get Rocco in this. I was hoping that the whole thing that would tie the first book with the second one would be that Falk would be partnering back up with Rocco, and we would see that friendship grow. And I love that friendship and their partnership in the first book, so I was really hoping we'd get that again. And we didn't even see him until the last chapter, which was really disappointing to me. And there's this whole subtle romance between him and his current partner, and I didn't really like that either, because it just didn't fit for me. And so I have a little bit of negative feelings towards that, but I did enjoy how she didn't completely take away the effects of the events of the first book. We did see some of those effects, and we still see him dealing with trying to come to peace with his relationship with his father and everything. So I did enjoy that. And mainly what I really appreciated more about this book is that she did focus on the main mystery, and that it didn't get lost in his own story. So I appreciated that. It gets 4 stars. I absolutely enjoyed it. So I would highly recommend both of these books, especially the first one, if you're more into characters growth and characterizations and stuff like that. You'll probably enjoy that. But if you were expecting it to be more about the main mystery plot, stick with the second book, because you'll get that more. Then we will talk about what I am going to be reading. So my reread will be continuing on with Harry Potter with Order of the Phoenix. I find it funny that people find this one the least enjoyable out of all 7 books, but for me, I actually enjoy it. A lot of people complain that there just isn't as much going on with it, but I like it because it's a little bit more political, and I've been finding out that I do enjoy political type stories too. And with this one, you get more of a foundation of the world through the Ministry of Magic, and we see like the foundation of everything on how their society and everything was put together, sort of like in a kind of like a small way, but you kind of see the effect of the Ministry of Magic and some of the twisted views that they have and things that happens during time and just misunderstanding of certain things. So I enjoy that. And I also find it funny that, not funny, but just kind of like annoying how people don't seem to like Harry in this, misunderstanding the fact that he has PTSD. He's dealing with being isolated all summer, which I think was really 100% wrong of Dumbledore. Like, seriously, you're making him suffer more. Like, that's messed up. So there's a lot of things that were happening with him that people should be able to understand, should be more understanding of, I feel. And also, he's a teenager. He's a freaking teenager dealing with hormones. And if you've been a teenager, you would know that being a teenager is freaking hard. So, give him a break. But anyways, that will be what I am starting. And then I have Kindle Unlimited. So the book that I will be reading, or I have books on my Kindle, but the book that I will be reading is Breath of Air by Kate Jennings. Oh shoot, I did not know this was a series. This is why I was choosing this one to read first, because was it? Either way, I do not know what this one is about, really. Let me see if I can find out. But it's part of the Dryad Quartet. And it's not telling me what this is about. Okay. Either way, that is what I will be reading. So it looks like it's going to be fantasy, magical, realism maybe. We shall see. Since it's Kindle Unlimited, I'm not like caring about trying to finish it. We'll see what happens when I get to it. And then my library book that I will be reading is The Stone Sky by N.K. Jemisin. I'm actually going to be able to finish this trilogy, and I'm really proud of myself because, I know that this was a book that, I know that it's always been hard for me to finish series and trilogies, which is why you only see like 3 series on my shelves that are finished and enjoyed, because I just don't finish series. I don't even start them really because I'm always scared to get into them because, but I have finished a trilogy this year, and I fulfilled one of my challenges, a part of one of my challenges already, so I'm really happy about that. So I'm saying that because I know I will finish this week, and I'm so excited to get to this. So this is the 3rd book in the Broken Earth trilogy, and I am not even looking at the back of this book. I really was enjoying I really enjoyed the first 2 so freaking much, and just really want to finish this week. So that will be happening for sure. And then the 4th and last book that I will be picking up this week is a book that I just recently bought this past week, and that is The Pianist by can you see that? Ooh, makes it even worse. Can you see that? I think you can see that better now. So I think it's pronounced, well, I'm not even going to pronounce the first name, but Spielman, I think is how you pronounce the last name. So this is about his story about how he survived in Warsaw between 1939 and 45. He is, or was rather, Polish and of Jewish descent, and he was somehow able to escape from being forced into from one of the work camps, and he survived in the middle of this enemy war zone crazy. I watched the film not knowing it was a book, and I was really surprised when I found out it was a book, and kind of disappointed that I hadn't read the book first, because it's told in his own voice, so he's telling you his story, and I would have preferred to have heard from his side, from his actual voice telling his own story, because films tend to romanticize and dramatize things and add things that didn't actually happen. And so I was really just disappointed that I didn't know that it was a book when I watched it. So yeah, it's been a long time since I watched that film, so I probably I don't think I remember. I just remember like the bare bones of that film. So hopefully that will mean that I will be able to go into this not having that like affecting either one. And I'm definitely looking forward to hearing his story from himself. We also have a Ford. I think you would call it a Ford. I think it's a Ford. Yeah. From his son, I'm talking about some of the backgrounds about the publication of this book and his own experience of reading his father's story for the first time, I think. So definitely looking forward to getting to that this week. I was actually thinking of starting another series that is part of my challenge, but I decided that I'm going to wait until the end of the month, because then I can continue on with the next 2 books I have in the next month, or in this month if I have time to do so. So yeah, that will be all the books that I have read and will be reading. And now on to talking about the films, the 3 films that I've watched. So 2 of them are in theater right now, and I'm just going to talk about them. I'm trying to be a little bit quick because I'm seeing where I am time-wise, and this video is getting a little bit too long. So the first one that I watched in theaters is Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. Wow, I think that says a lot about my thoughts. But this is the third and last film in this trilogy, and hopefully in this film world, in the story, film-wise, because I'm over it. I do not know why people like Finn. Finn is annoying, and I think that he has sexist tendencies to think, just has a really poor view of women if he thinks that he needs to go running after Rey all the time. Like, let me save you. Like, fuck you. Come on. You don't need to save her. She can do and save herself. Like, get over it. Like, I get that he realized that she was going through something, but you don't need to go running after her like what? I don't know. It's just really annoying. And I think that's how you show somebody that that was how we're supposed to know that he loves her or whatever. I think that's a poor way of showing someone you love them. Trust them to be able to handle themselves, and just, give them the benefit of the doubt that what they're doing is the right thing. Like, I don't think what she was doing was exactly right, but she could handle herself, and it's just like, get over yourself, Finn. Just get over yourself. I do not like him. I always found him annoying, but this last film really made me dislike him. And I also thought that he was gonna be in a relationship with that other woman, that other fire pilot. I believe she's a fire pilot. I thought that was going to be the case, but then they go and twist it out into this. But anyways, that's just a side thing, really. What I did not like about this is how there's way too many parallels between her and Luke Skywalker's story. You seriously couldn't give her own story? It didn't really make sense, because I felt like the first 2 films made it out like it was not going to go that way at all, and instead it's just all of a sudden this is the way it's going to be. Like, oh my gosh, it just really was a mess for me, and I was really disappointed. It was enjoyable in the middle of watching it, but when you really think about like everything that they did with this, it just was really frustrating and annoying, and just completely ruins everything that happened in the first 2 films. Like, you just ruined the whole movies because you just couldn't do something new. So yeah, a really bad film. And then the other film that I watched in theater is Dolittle. I chose this as the film that I was gonna watch with my free ticket. I tend to use free tickets to go watch things, because I don't really go see movies in theaters anyways. because it's just not worth the money, I feel like, half the time. And I don't really feel the need to. I have to be like really excited for a movie to go and watch it in theaters, which just goes to show like the fallacy in that, because I did not like Rise of Skywalker at all. But if I do get a free ticket, I usually use it for films that I think will like look good on the big screen, but I'm iffy on. I'm not gonna spend money on something that I don't think I like, that I have doubts about, I should say. I hope I'm gonna enjoy it, but I have doubts about it, and I definitely had doubts about Dolittle. It definitely came off like, it looked like a fun movie, but it definitely came off like a kid's film, and it definitely was a kid's film, I will say. It's a very simplistic storyline. Everything happens way too fast. We don't get enough background on Dolittle in this film. Like, we see, like, we know that, I'm not going to talk about like what the backstory is, but there is like a tragic not quotation marks, it is a tragic backstory for him, and I felt bad for him that it happened, but I also didn't feel like I got connected to her and him. Oops, shit. Either way, I'm not gonna restart this because I just realized I probably spoiled something, but like, we just didn't get to know the two parties of the story, and when the events go down, it just doesn't, like, you know, I didn't have any skin in the game for that. Like, it's just like, if you want us to feel for them, you need to make us get to know them a little bit more. And we didn't get to know, and again, it was only like an hour and a half. I was like, why is this film so short? You need way more time to really get in to make it not feel so rushed. I think if you're a child, you're going to enjoy this film, and it definitely won't feel rushed to you as a kid, but as an adult, you're definitely gonna feel that. But it was funny and enjoyable when you get into like the main story, and I enjoyed it while watching it. I definitely will rewatch it when it comes out on DVD, but it's nothing that I would actually pay for, so it'll be a borrow rather than buy for me. It gets 3 stars. I enjoyed it, but I definitely think that everything was rushed and needed to be more developed. The last film that I watched was an animated film, which was Abominable. I forget her name. The actress who plays the you would recognize her from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And yeah, I really enjoyed this film. So if you do not know, Abominable is about this young woman, I think. See, this is the problem that I have with this, is it was never really clear how old she is. We know that the guy that she was once friends with is college age, like he's a senior in high school, but I couldn't tell if she was a senior or junior or sophomore. It was like somewhere in that range for sure. I knew she was a teenager. I knew she was only like a couple of years younger, or maybe the same age. I just couldn't really tell because they don't really make it clear like where she is in that whole thing for sure. Like, it was never solid. Like, I'm thinking that she is the same age as him because of the excuses they use for why they're not at home. But either way, so we have this young woman who finds a Yeti on her roof, and she ends up trying to bring him back to his home in Everest. This was such a fun film. I wish I hadn't returned right away and had rewatched it, because I really was wanting to rewatch it. And yeah, so it was really fun to watch. It was enjoyable. I love the animation. It was just a fun film. It's definitely for the younger audience. You can kind of feel it, but I did like it a little bit better than Dolittle, I must say. It's just so much fun and so magical and just so cute. It just, it was a warm the heart kind of movie that made you just happy from the inside out. So that is everything that I have to talk about today. Oh, I also gave that one 4 stars. But yeah, that's all I had to talk about today. I would love to hear if you've read any of the books that I talked about. The ones I'm going to read, do not spoil me on them, but just let me know if you like them. I would love to talk to you down below about all the books that I've read, if you read them. The films I watched. What did you think of Rise of Skywalker? Do you think that Finn is a bit of a problematic character? Would like to know. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.